The best way to appreciate how great God is in a situation where you try everything, you look around and there's no other option, that you have to look to God and He shows up in a very wonderful way. This is a story I don't like sharing. It's how I lost my 9 to 5 and God opened a bigger door for me. About 12 years ago, I was a group manager overseeing 5 companies. On a Friday, I was driving back home by 6 p.m. and I considered that going back home very early because my normal closing hours was 8 p.m. from Monday to Saturday. While I was driving, my phone started ringing, so I looked around to check for my phone, and when I picked the call, I had a very familiar voice saying, "Where are you? Check your email." And I was like, "Check my email? Okay, I will do that when I get home. Check your email immediately. It's important." And I was like, what could be that important? I parked the vehicle and I checked my email. When I read this email, I was surprised. Let me take you back 2 weeks for that event. I was called for a group meeting with the group chairman and the group CEO. First, they said, "You have been doing a very good job, one, but we need you to show up at work 7 days in a week." I went back to prayer and I was asking God, is this the only way? I had so many disadvantages. My first disadvantage is I was in a foreign country and I needed that source of income. I was ready to work even 8 days in a week to ensure that that source of income was secured. But God had better plans. Now I didn't have a job. It was on a Friday. My mind started racing. My mind started calculating. What do I do exactly? What exactly do I do? 2 days after that day, my wife called me and told me we should pray. Now remember, I've been working very, very hard. Prayer wasn't really something I had really considered because I felt it was about how much I could work, how much I could put in. I was there to impress. And she said we should pray. And we should pray for 7 days. And we prayed for 7 days. And she said something. She said, I should decide what I want God to do within the 7 days. And guess what my prayer point was? My prayer point was, God, restore my job. Because I knew it was restorable. All I needed to do was go to talk to the group chairman, who was my very good friend, and my job is back. I said, God, restore my job. And she paused and asked me a question. What if God has better for you? I looked at her and I was like, what could be better than this? I'm at virtually the peak of my own career. What could be better? She said, what if God has better for you? Remember, this job paid my rent. I had a 3-month-old baby. My rent was already due. The car I was using was owned by this company. Everything was tied to this company. And there she is telling me, what if God has better for me? And I didn't see any reason. I didn't see anything better than what I had already, that I was about to lose. But I agreed with her, and in faith we agreed. And that was on a Sunday. We continued the prayer. By Monday, I knew I had lost that job. And I was still believing God that something could happen. But this was the prayer we agreed on. Lord, give me something better. Now, what happened after the 7 days prayer was very, very strange. I decided after the 7 days prayer, I was going to meet a man. I didn't know him very well. And I discussed a project with the man. This man took 3 days for somebody he did not know, for somebody he was not sure of. And he said yes to that project. Now I knew that was God. Now what he paid me was twice every month what I was paid as a group manager. Now that wasn't even what God really showed me. God showed me one big mistake I was making, and so many make. The limitations we have when we are in a 9 to 5. And that limitation is when we tie everything, our joy, our happiness is tied to my bank account. Think about it. At the end of every month, we are waiting for that alert. We are waiting for that message that will come to our phones that we have been paid for the month. And the day we lose that salary, we are uncertain. God doesn't mean anything to us as long as we are earning money. So I realized that I was a slave to my salary. I was a slave to my bank account. If my bank account goes low, it changes my mood. I become frustrated. And I was doing everything possible for a salary. This is what God showed me, that I was ignoring the most important bank account. It took me 2 years for me to appreciate this, that the most important bank account I was ignoring. And that bank account will always replenish my bank account. And that bank account was the value bank account. Everybody has a value bank account. You currently have a value bank account because your years of experience, your years of failure, your skills, your knowledge is in that value bank account. Now let me explain this. I later went into serious debt, and then God unveiled this to me. I looked through my value bank account and I realized something. I had so much in that value bank account, and only God said, pick one thing, solve one problem for one people, one set of people, one problem for one set of people. It's how Moses was leading people from Egypt to the promised land. And that was the concept God gave me. And God was teaching me this and telling me that if I can show people all the experience I've had in writing better proposals and writing proposals, because that was what I picked for my value bank account, helping businesses write better proposals. So I decided to do a workshop, a weekly workshop on teaching people how to write better business proposals. And to my greatest shock, I was making in a day 3 times in one day what I was paid as a group manager. I want you to think about this. As a group manager, what I was paid, I was making 3 times in a day. Now you ask, okay, this doesn't really make any sense, but look at it very well. Business proposals are used by small businesses across the globe. Every country has at least 1 million small business. Some have 10 million or more small businesses. How many of them do you think will be interested in learning how to write better proposals? A lot. This was sitting in my value bank account and I was doing nothing about it. My question to you is this: what is in your value bank account? Because that is what will replenish, will not only fill your bank accounts, but you will need to even open more bank accounts. You are sitting on a gold mine. I was sitting on a gold mine and I didn't know. I was going into debt. I was getting frustrated. And I didn't know that I had the answer with me. And God opened my eyes to it. I want you to share your thoughts in these comments. My name is Kobe Obinna Menze. And I'll be sharing more about my story and sharing with you some of the things I learned along the way.